Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. So thank you very much, Mr. Bennett, for the introduction to what we do at Quantum Source. In the next 15 minutes or so, I would like to provide you some background about Quantum Source, about what we do, and the way we combine photonic qubits and atomic qubits to enable large-scale practical quantum computer. So the quantum revolution is definitely coming. We are expecting to see tremendous impact on our economy. About $1 trillion will contribute to the global economy by creating huge impact on areas like climate research, material science, drug development, cybersecurity, AI processing, and so on. However, in order to unlock this huge potential of quantum computing, we need different machines. We need large-scale fault-tolerant machines. And by large scale, I mean quantum computers with millions of qubits. And why do we need millions of qubits? It's because of error correction. Qubits are analog by nature, and they are noisy. And if we really want to run computations which have significant market value, we need the error rate to be very low. As Jeremy O'Brien said, we need to reach to the 10 to minus 20. So even reaching to the 10 to minus 15, it's very, very hard. And to reach to that type of so-called perfect qubits, we need error correction, and we need to encode such perfect qubits using tremendous amount of physical qubits, between 1,000 to 10,000. This is why we need huge machines, machines with millions of qubits. So let's take a look at two examples. One is very known, breaking RSA. To break RSA, we need about 6,000 perfect qubits. 6,000 perfect qubits translates to about 30 million physical qubits because of error correction. If we look at molecule simulation, for molecule simulation, we need roughly 1,000 perfect qubits. That translates to about 5 million physical qubits. So the gap between where we are today, with small quantum computers with maybe hundreds of physical qubits, noisy, to where we need to be, is significant. Let's take a look at some leading candidate technologies for quantum computing. So the technology to build small quantum computers out of superconductors, trapped ions, or neutral atoms is known. Creating the qubits or creating the entanglement between the qubits, it's relatively simple, relatively. However, the size of those machines is not adequate to run the error-free computation which is needed in order to unlock the huge potential that we see in quantum computing. More than that, the path towards achieving large-scale machines with millions of qubits based on those modalities is not clear yet. Now, photonics has completely the opposite problem. The architectures that people are building around photonic quantum computation is really scalable. You can scale up the system to millions of qubits. However, the basic building blocks, the qubits and the entangling gates, are very, very difficult. And why they are difficult? Because photons do not interact with each other. This is why it's so difficult. Despite this challenge, I do believe that photonic is the right approach towards achieving large-scale, utility-scale quantum computer. And we all, I think that we all attended the interview of Jeremy O'Brien, CEO of PsiQuantum, that exactly talked about that. In Quantum Source, we leverage the best of both worlds. We use photonic qubits for their ability to scale up, their immunity to noise, and we use atomic qubits for their entangling capabilities. But before we talk about what we do, let's first understand the key challenges that photonic quantum computation is facing. The basic building block in photonic quantum computers are small clusters of entangled photons. And small means something between 10 to 20, that's it. Those small clusters are then integrated together to create a large grid of entangled qubits. That grid is the basis for the computation and error correction. So although it looks very, very simple, generating those small clusters of entangled photons is very, very hard job. And it is hard because current technologies use probabilistic processes to generate those cluster states. And each and every photon in such a small cluster is a result of millions of attempts. This is why building a 1 million qubit system will probably require a quantum factory, a factory that will occupy the space equivalent to a football court or even larger. And this is why the machines that are generating those cluster states will occupy or will account for nearly 95 to 99% of the total computer bill of material. So building mankind's first utility scale quantum computer definitely worth the effort. However, the long-term future of photonic quantum computation is to find more efficient processes. And this is what we do at Quantum Source. This is the uniqueness of our solution. We combine photonic qubits and atomic qubits. Photons are very small units of energy, and atoms are tiny antennas. The way to make them interact with each other, to make them strongly coupled, is by confining the photons into tiny, high-quality resonators. When we do so, the electrical field of the photon increases dramatically for a period of time that is sufficient to create deterministic interaction with the atom. This field in physics is called cavity QAD, or cavity quantum electrodynamics, and it allows us to both generate the photons in a deterministic way and also to create those very difficult cluster states in a deterministic way. And this is the basic of our technology. In Quantum Source, we basically trap very few atoms on a silicon photonic chip to generate the desired cluster state. And this process is by approximately 4 orders of magnitude more efficient compared to current implementations. This efficiency translates to size and complexity of the system. We can build a 1 million qubit system that will be installed in the standard server room. More than that, our system does not require any special cooling. It works in room temperature, which further reduces the complexity of the infrastructure needed in order to build it. And because of the compactness of the solution, it can scale up not just to 1 million qubit system, but to 10 million or hundreds of millions if will be necessary. So now it's a little bit physics, so bear with me. So let's talk about our system. The core of our system is a small vacuum cell in which a cloud of cold rubidium atoms are held by external laser beam. A narrow laser beam is then transferring very slowly rubidium atom to a pre-designated trapping site on a silicon photonic chip that is located on top of the vacuum cell. If we look closely at this chip, the chip actually has 2 parts. The first part is a single photon source which is deterministic. It includes a rubidium atom which is trapped near a high-quality resonator, and repeated excitation beam from external laser beam turn this trapped atom into a deterministic single photon gun. The photons are excited from the atom, then coupled to the resonator, and from there to the waveguide and to the next part of the chip. The second part of the chip is designed to create the entanglement between the photons. It includes a second rubidium atom, which is controlled by external laser beam to perform a certain quantum gate. The output of this part of the chip is the desired cluster state. And in this example, all the photons at the output are either at 0 or 1, but together. We can think about the second part of the second rubidium atom in the chip like a needle in the sewing machine, stitching all the photons together one by one. And that's the beauty of the architecture. So Quantum Source was established end of 2021. We raised $27 million from Israeli and US VCs, Pitango, Eclipse, Grove, 10D, as well as Dell Technologies. We have 44 employees, 24 with a PhD there in physics or electrical engineering, and 6 professors are supporting the activity in various domains. Quantum Source solution is the only solution in the world that combines both photonic qubits and atomic qubits. Very few atoms that are trapped on a silicon photonic chip generate large amount of photons and entangle them together in a deterministic way. These methods open the path to practical, low-cost, large-scale, fault-tolerant machine. So to summarize, photonic is probably the best route to achieve large-scale fault-tolerant machine. We have a way to improve the process of generating one of the most difficult parts in photonic quantum computer by about 4 orders of magnitude, which means that we can install the system in a standard server room. The system does not require any special cooling, which means that the infrastructure is easy. We can scale up the system to millions of qubit system at a practical cost for both corporate and commercial usage. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I believe we do have time for 1 or 2 questions, but I'm going to start with the chair's prerogative and say, you pointed out that photonics offers a route to scaling to millions of qubits. What's the market if you're only halfway there?
Probably 10%.
All right, excellent. There are many technical questions, but cooling you've mentioned, or the lack of need to cool, is one of the key things. Other solutions require a great deal of cooling. How do you overcome the cooling challenges, and how do you work without needing that enormous amount of cryogenic coolers that are illustrated in the qubit behind you?
So because of the deterministic process of generating the photons and the cluster state and the entanglement, we don't need in the middle any heralding mechanism. We don't need the single photon detectors, which are the main reason for the need for cooling in other systems. So that's the main reason.
Thank you very much indeed. Avoiding of single photon detectors, I know many people who are trying to work on single photon detectors. It might not be so pleased to hear that, but thank you very much.
Thank you very much.